Hi, I'm James,
And I'm Laurent, and today we are in Scottsdale, Arizona.
and I'm so excited because we are visiting Frank Lloyd Wright's masterpiece in the desert, Taliesin West.
We are huge Frank Lloyd Wright fans. We visited a lot of his places in the Midwest, in Chicago, in Michigan, and we're so happy to be here in Arizona to visit Taliesin West.
Taliesin West is a truly experimental architecture in a completely new environment that Frank Lloyd Wright really crafted over many, many years. And it's fascinating to go there and to see how this experiment in the desert kind of evolved.
At first, I didn't really care for Taliesin West. When I think of Frank Lloyd Wright, I think of just horizontal lines. And I thought Taliesin was a little bit of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different things. It just didn't have the unity that most of Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings have. But it kind of grew on me as we progressed through the visit. So we visited the original Taliesin in Wisconsin, and it's the first time that we saw a Frank Lloyd Wright building in a hot climate like in the desert, and it just felt very different. It was a lot more open with just a lot more outdoor space than what we're used to seeing from his construction in the Midwest.
The other thing that's really amazing is how he bought 600 acres of land and used all of the things that were available on the land in the manufacturing of the components of the house. The timber, the rock, all those things were blended together in creating this really unique space.
Yeah, he didn't believe in bringing material from outside, so he just used the material that was there, and just all the rocks from the desert is what he used to create what is called desert masonry. So Frank Lloyd Wright thought of the space as a whole. He designed the space, but he also designed the furniture that went into the space.
And his interiors are always integrated. So you'll see a lot of banquettes for a lot of seating for dinner parties and things like that. And what's particularly incredible to see here are the original origami chairs that he designed. These are really incredibly comfortable chairs to sit in and aesthetically just beautiful. I was so happy to be able to sit in that chair.
One of the things I found very unique about Taliesin West is that when I think of Frank Lloyd Wright, I think of mostly rectangles and horizontal and vertical lines. And there were a lot of triangles and a lot of diagonals throughout the whole property, which is something that I just don't associate with Frank Lloyd Wright in general.
So Taliesin West is a late work from Frank Lloyd Wright. He lived there from about 1937 until the time he died in 1959. It was and still is really the campus of his School of Architecture. Every year, Frank Lloyd Wright and his students would migrate between Taliesin in Wisconsin in the summer and Taliesin West in Arizona in the winter. And they used to drive in this red caravan because Frank Lloyd Wright really loved the color red, and he had his car painted red so that people would know he was coming into town.
So all his students decided to paint their car in red as well. There's actually a lot of water around the property. There are pools with fountains. When Frank Lloyd Wright bought the land, he also bought the water rights, and everybody was laughing at him because he was in the middle of the desert. And it turns out that there was a spring on his property, and that's why there's so much water around the property.
One of the things that was interesting about the rock formations were that there were a number of Native American petroglyphs in the area, and these kind of inspired Frank Lloyd Wright's vision for what the symbolism would be on the property. So you'll see that the symbol, which is kind of the spiral symbol, was similar to what was found on the rocks, and he turned that into the symbol of Taliesin West.
Frank Lloyd Wright designed the building, but he also organized all the art that's around, and there's just a lot of statues and motifs that are blended throughout the site.
He collected a lot of Chinese art. In fact, he was one of the largest collectors of Chinese art in the US, and he placed a lot of it there.
Frank Lloyd Wright wants his students to be also business people, and therefore he cares a lot about educating them not just on architecture, but also on music and on the arts in general, so that they can entertain their potential client.
So he created the music pavilion.
And then in addition to that, there's also the cabaret theater, and supposedly the acoustics in that room are just amazing.
One of the things that I think is really special about the music pavilion is the filtered light from the canvas that lines the ceiling. You know, when you're in the desert and you're directly in the sun, but there is just beautiful filtered light through these canvases he created that makes it so pleasant to be in the music pavilion.
So we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did,
Give it a big thumbs up
and put your comments.
in the comment section below.
And if you want to subscribe to our channel, we are going to put a link right here.
And be sure to click the bell if you want to get regular updates about our new videos. If you don't click it, then you won't see our new posts.
And if you want to watch our next video, we're going to put one right here over James' face and another one right there over my face. Bye.
Bye.